Hello, everyone. My name is Bryan McBride. I'm a student at the University of Texas at Tyler, and I'm in the Research Methods course taught by Dr. Bailey. And part of our assignment or our curriculum, we're supposed to do a research project and distribute a survey and come up with some policy recommendations that we can help impact organizations. And so my research topic was technology, or the use of technology in a work-life balance. And part of this presentation, I'm going to talk to you about my methodology of how I created the survey, indicate some highlights from the results that I got, and then kind of go into more detail about the satisfaction of being issued a technological device, what type of devices are being issued these days, and people establishing separation from their organization and how satisfied they are, and recommend some policies for organizations to implement. So the collection process, my survey design was through Qualtrics, which was an online software that was recommended by our professor. This was able to host my data. I was able to create my questions there. And what it did was it created a URL that I could share out to individuals for them to go and answer my survey. The type of questions that I created, I used what we call a skip logic questionnaire. And basically what that means is that the people that were answering questions, depending on how they answered the previous question, determined what their next question was going to be. And so some people or some participants weren't able to access all the questions because of how they answered some of the other previous questions. So limitations on my project, we're on a time crunch. This is a semester-long course, and so that I had to get data very quickly to produce some sort of results. And then another limitation was I used social media to broadcast my survey, and so that you needed technology in order to access my social media or social media in general, or the website URL in order to answer my survey. So some of the survey data that I want to highlight, I had about 50 people take the survey. We had top 3 career fields for people in education, communication, and business, which you could obviously see that technology probably plays a huge portion or huge part in these careers, especially communication, where they're literally dependent on their technology needs in order to distribute their information quickly to their constituents. Some technology devices, I asked people if they were issued a device to take home, and we saw a greater satisfaction for people who did not have to take a device home, which is pretty obvious, because if you aren't issued a device to take home, it means you can kind of separate yourself from work pretty easily. We actually did see a trend of people saying that if they were issued a device, they were satisfied. So I think that's good to point out. I'll kind of come back here when I get down further in my presentation. These are the type of devices that are being issued, that the participants that are being issued to them. You can kind of see that primarily people are getting what I would deem to be mobile devices, which if you're being issued a mobile device, that means you're able to access work anywhere at any time. So you can kind of see that trend there. Another thing was I wanted to ask people if they were able to establish separation from their employer outside of working hours. So you can kind of see, as expected, that people that were able to separate themselves from work were highly satisfied. And then people who weren't able to separate themselves, you saw some dissatisfaction there. But you also kind of saw some satisfaction as well, which is very interesting to me. But to go back to this chart, I mean, you can kind of put 2 and 2 together. The people that were issued a device, that would kind of help explain the people that said yes, but they were still satisfied. With that being that they were probably able to separate some sort of separation from their employer and to remain that kind of satisfaction. And so I think that is probably very, very, very important when it comes to my next slide, when it's some policy recommendations. And so I pose for policymakers to kind of set some standard operating procedures when issuing a device. We saw that there was some dissatisfaction when there wasn't some sort of separation from the organization. So I think this was primarily a good thing to kind of start off within an organization whenever getting a device. So once you hand the device over to the employee, you kind of be upfront, say, hey, I want you to answer your emails or your phone calls at certain times. So email, hey, you got notified of an email, you can wait till normal working hours. But if I call you outside of working hours, I need a response immediately. I think there's another policy recommendation that's important is installing an application to track how much the individual uses the device that was issued by the employer outside of working hours. I think this is very important because we often think, we take a device with us, whether it be a laptop or a phone, we think that we have to be still connected to work at all times. So I think having this sort of application kind of make us aware, as well as the employer aware, of how much their employees using technology outside of the working hours, and which also leads to the amount of time employees work. Time is very important, very valuable, and is very crucial in the work-life balance. So I think employees should really consider having a cap of how much time their employee can work outside of the working hours, and just kind of tie all these three together, making sure that their employee is satisfied with their work-life balance. With that being said, I strongly recommend these policies and implement these within your organizations. If you have any further questions, feel free to shoot me an email, and I'll be looking forward to any advice or any questions that you may have. Thank you very much. Hope you have a great day.